Hello there, you're welcome again to another amazing episode of Colavari Walk series. This is a podcast that focuses on exploring the interesting world of work. My name is Ziika and I am the host of this podcast. Okay, so if you're new here, you're welcome. Thank you for tuning in, but I will advise you to actually listen to the previous episodes. There's so much to learn. So the episode before this, we talked about artificial intelligence and the future of work, the impact of AI on individual, on the society, on government, and everything. So please listen to that episode and trust me, you'll be blown away by the discoveries that Azeez had for us. So today, if you're a football lover, even if you're not a football lover, we have something for you today. We'll be talking about the hidden genius of Carlo Ancelotti. I know the football lovers will be very familiar with him, but just beyond being a coach, there are lessons in social and emotional intelligence that we can get from his story. But Azeez will be taking us through all of the things that we need to know about this. So, hi Azeez.
Hi Ziika, how are you doing?
Welcome. I'm doing very well. How have you been?
I'm fine.
Okay.
In 2023, we ran a couple of episodes that were football focused.
Yeah, I
but
remember.
we took out learnings for the workplace. And I got some really interesting comments from some people. So we will be looking at 2 episodes this year, for now, in 2025, that will look at football and see the sort of lessons that we can learn from it.
them.
So for this episode, we'll be looking at Carlo Ancelotti, like you mentioned, the current coach of Real Madrid.
Is that your football club?
Not really. No.
Okay, please
but
go
he's
ahead.
an interesting,
Okay.
and I'll tell you why this episode. Why? When Real Madrid won the Champions League last year, I remember on the platform that I was on, WhatsApp, somebody said, "What does he do anyway? Doesn't do anything. He's just lucky." You understand? It was like, wow, what does he do anyway? He's just lucky. So Carlo Ancelotti holds a unique place in football history.
Okay.
He is the only manager to have won league titles in all 5 of Europe's top leagues. So
Wow.
Italy, England, France, Germany, and Spain.
Wow.
He is the only coach to have won the Champions Cup 5 times. That is 8% of all the Champions League ever contested. He's won 8%.
Wow.
And yet he's referred to as a lucky coach. Despite these achievements, he's often dismissed as, merely being lucky. Critics question what he actually does, suggesting that his success is down to managing big clubs. Some even question his tactical acumen. In fact, there was and this was very annoying. It was a football pundit that said he would not even compare Ancelotti to Pep Guardiola. That they were not even Jurgen Klopp. For him, comparing Ancelotti to Guardiola was like an insult. You understand? So it's like, despite all these achievements, you understand, why is it that
People still don't see that.
you understand? People only claim that he's won the Champions League because he coached AC Milan and Real Madrid. For context-wise, before he won with AC Milan had not won the Champions League for 9 years.
Wow.
Before he won,
And you say he's just lucky.
yes, before he won with Real Madrid, they had not won for 12 years.
Wow.
You
Of
understand?
course he's doing something.
Exactly. Of course he's doing something. So it's in that context that I decided to spend some time to understand what makes him successful. And I think, we could learn from him, whether you are a football lover or not.
Or not, yeah.
So that's the
That's the
basic context of the.
Thank you for giving that context. So, I mean, you've given us a bit of his history. So why would a coach that has this amazing and extraordinary track record not be given the recognition that he deserves?
Very good question. Before we go into that, we have to understand a concept that is called social signaling.
Okay.
So, social signaling refers to how individuals express their social status or identity through actions, possessions, or appearance.
Can you take that again?
Social signaling refers to how individuals express their social status and identity through actions, possessions, and appearance.
Okay.
At its core, social signaling relies on proxies. You understand? Indirect indicators to ascertain identity. I'll use examples and you will understand. So take, for example, wealth.
Okay.
You say this man is rich or is wealthy. Why did you say that? Because you saw his car, right?
Yes.
His
possessions,
possessions, wristwatch, clothes,
Yeah.
where he stays,
Yes.
flies first class, right?
Yes.
That's social signaling. You assume he's rich because of
his
his
status.
appearance, his status. Now, that man could be broke, could have 0 naira in his account, but yet you would assume he's rich.
Yeah.
We don't have access to his account, but we can see his possession. Exactly. So you assume he's rich. So that's social signaling.
Okay.
Where you use appearance to ascertain something
Judge.
about the person.
Yeah.
So that's for wealth. Let's look at intelligence or competence.
Okay.
Today, educational qualification or certifications are proxies for intelligence and competence. So if you attend a prestigious university, you are intelligent. Harvard, you understand? Yale, MIT, wow, you're intelligent. You understand?
Yeah.
Because it assumes that for you to get into those universities, you must have been intelligent.
Yeah.
So also if you have a lot of certifications, it is assumed you are competent. But it doesn't really follow. It's an assumption.
Yeah.
So it's using proxies to ascertain something about the person when we do not have the information to actually assess those people.
I think I see where this is going.
Exactly. So that's social signaling. Now let's bring it back to football so that we understand.
Please. Yeah.
Now, in today's world, when it comes to a good coach, there is an assumed template for who is a good coach.
Okay.
In this era that we are in football tactics, if you can talk about football tactics, if you are good at technical analysis, if you are good at structured patterns, if you can talk about these things, you understand, grant interviews and explain these things.
Whether or not you can
do it. People assume that you are good. In today's world, you have coaches who are bigger than the players themselves, which normally is not the case. The players are the superstars.
Yes.
The coach is the one behind the scene. But in today's world, the coach has now become the main guy. This is how I said, welcome to the world of Pep Guardiola and his disciples. So, when you fit into that Pep Guardiola's template, you are a good coach. When you don't fit into that template, you are not a good coach. So again, we are using proxies to ascertain whether you are good or not really what you have achieved. So I can talk about football, it means I'm a good coach. So that's basically, you understand, that's where I think, this issue comes from. You understand? People are no longer bothered about what has this guy actually achieved.
Yes. What's his track record?
If I can talk about football, give press interviews and, complex things, wow, that's a good coach.
But how has he been, I'm talking of Ancelotti, how has he been able to succeed?
Okay, so I would explain what I'm going to explain really applies to everything, the work environment. In today's work environment, okay, you require both intelligence and emotional intelligence. So both intellectual intelligence, that is typified by IQ, and emotional intelligence, that is referred to as EQ, to be successful. That's what it takes. So you require competence, you understand? But you also require emotional intelligence, social intelligence. It's a combination of both that actually makes you succeed at the workplace. However, there are reasons why people usually rate intellectual intelligence over emotional intelligence.
Okay.
And I mean, some of them really, one is because from a historical point of view, we've had more data on intellectual intelligence, you understand? IQ, you understand? We've had more data. So people are aware of it more. You can even test it. With emotional intelligence, it's hard for you to do tests on it to say this proves that you understand. It's not as straightforward as testing for IQ. So we do not have that much information about emotional intelligence like we have and so because of that, people tend to think that intellectual intelligence is of more importance than emotional intelligence. However, some of the leaders that we admire the most, we admire them not because of their intellectual capacity, but because of their emotional intelligence. Abraham Lincoln, Nelson Mandela, for example. True. I mean, Mandela today is great because he forgave. It's not intelligence.
That's true.
It's you understand. It's an emotional. It's social intelligence. You understand. So also, if you look at some of the business leaders today, some of the CEOs that are doing very well, whether it is Satya Nadella of Microsoft or the previous CEO of PepsiCo in Indira Nooyi, these people, it was their emotional intelligence that made them who they were. So some of the traits of emotionally intelligent people are self-awareness, empathy, social skills, relational skills. You understand? But in summary, ultimately, you need both IQ and EQ to be successful.
Okay, so let's talk about Ancelotti. So specifically, what sets him apart?
There are a couple of things that set him apart. 4-5 things that I will look at. But before that, I want to talk about his philosophy in the first place. And this is very important.
Okay.
As a coach, for him, success is rooted in his players first approach. So it's about the players first. It's not about the pattern. It's not about winning. It's about the players. That's his philosophy. That's his starting point. He prioritizes strong relationship, fostering team harmony, and adapting tactics to maximize his players' strength. That's his philosophy in general. So he's first treating the people as humans before treating them as footballers. That's his philosophy.
That way you can even get the best out of them.
So now let's look at specific attributes from that general philosophy. 1, he believes in building strong personal relationship with the players. So he treats his players as individuals, not just footballers. So before they are footballers, so behind that footballer, behind a Messi, is a human being.
Yeah.
So Ancelotti believes in treating them first as humans. Before footballers.
Players.
So he takes interest in the individuals, not just because of football or winning, in the individuals. And I'll share this example. I think for me, it really typified this particular aspect of Ancelotti. Rudiger moved from Chelsea to Madrid, I think 2021, 2022, I'm not too sure. When he arrived, Ancelotti personally welcomed him. He didn't end there. He went to visit him in his house and had dinner with the family. I'm going to read Rudiger's own words and you understand where this is going to. This is what Rudiger said. He said, he sat down at the table to eat with us and meet with my family. He stayed for 2 hours. We talked about everything. This is the final sentence. This is what he said. He said, I had never experienced anything like that.
Aww.
No coach had ever done anything to me like that before.
He has touched something
Exactly.
that will make him produce.
Now, if you think it's just Rudiger, let's look at what Zlatan Ibrahimovic said about Ancelotti. He said, Jose Mourinho knows how to treat a footballer, but Carlo knows how to treat a person. Now, let's look at John Terry. This is what John Terry said in his own words. It's the personal touches, asking about the family, caring about the off-field stuff, the little things. This, for me, is why the players love him. Instead of being distant, it was always the group mentality. So in summary, on that particular point, Ancelotti befriends his players, builds close relationship with the footballers, takes personal interest in their lives outside of the game. That's the key. He treats the players like humans, regardless of whether they win or lose. So in turn, the players instinctively play not to let him down.
Now, I like him. I think I'm interested to know more of his attributes.
So that's one. So the second attribute that made him successful is that he creates a unified team culture. Now, this is his belief, and this is very important. He believes that the on-field harmony, what you see on the field, happens because of what happens
Outside
off the field.
Mm.
That's his mentality. So he is concerned with ensuring that there is good off-field harmony that translates into on-field harmony. So what he does is that he tries to break cliques. And cliques is normal with humans. We always want to form cliques by age, tribe, religion. It's normal. So what Ancelotti tries to do is break those cliques. One, these days, clubs are made up of players from different parts of the world, speaking different languages. So the first thing he insists is that wherever that club is, so for example, Madrid is in Madrid, Spain, he tries to ensure everybody learns to speak Spanish. So he's breaking.
Yeah.
He wants everybody to be one.
Yeah.
He also does not like players of certain parts to associate together. He wants to break that. So for example, when Toni Kroos, who's German, joined Real Madrid, his preference was to sit next to another German, Sami Khedira. So Ancelotti noticed this and deliberately made Toni Kroos sit close to Ramos, who was the club captain. So in doing that, he was breaking cliques and ensuring that there was harmony. You understand? So that's Carlo Ancelotti for you. So that's two. He creates a unified team culture. 3, he adapts to players' strengths. So instead of forcing players into rigid tactical patterns, his preference is to build his teams around the natural abilities of the players. So for him, your pattern or your tactics is only a tool of expression for the players. He does not force the patterns on the players. He allows, so he would adjust to a pattern that allows the players to play at their best. So this is the main reason why they say he does not have a pattern. Because he doesn't hold to one pattern. He looks at the players that he has and adopts
their strengths
to that. So that's the thought. I don't know if you have any comment before I share points 4 and points 5.
I don't know if this is off, but I was going to ask, does this always work?
Well, it does at times, and at times it doesn't work. I mean, with every style of leadership, there are pros and there are cons. You understand? So at times it does, at times it does not. This is how I would say. I think his style works best when you have players who are already competent. So you are not trying to teach them the basics. They already have the competence. You are not trying to use them well.
Great. Please go ahead.
So 4, he encourages growth through trust. So he gives players opportunity to express themselves, even if it means making mistakes. He believes that freedom fosters improvement. And this helps young talents to develop and even experienced players. So I'm going to read a comment from Mikel Obi, our own the Nigerian Mikel Obi. This is what he said about Carlo Ancelotti. He said, Carlo Ancelotti allows you to express yourself. Make mistakes. That's how you grow. The 5th attribute, and I think this is the last attribute I'll talk about him. He knows how to balance strategy with players' autonomy. And I would explain. So what he does really is, his tactics are like guidelines, you understand, that allows the players to express themselves within the guidelines. So it's more of like philosophies that you as a player can express based on your interpretation of the situation, rather than enforcing the philosophy on you. The philosophy is, this is what you can do. So depending on the situation, you can adjust the philosophy to get the best out of that situation. So that's basically how. So put differently, it's a leadership that empowers rather than micromanage. So these are the attributes of Carlo Ancelotti that has made him successful.
And these are not things that, like you said, he might not be able to coordinate to say.
Exactly.
Because he's not giving patterns.
Yeah.
But
behind the scenes. These are the things that make things work. Yeah.
Amazing. So, Ancelotti in this instance is like, a business owner, or
a CEO,
or a manager.
Yeah.
Yes. So what would you recommend as the top 3 things that business leaders should learn from him?
Yeah. So the first one is building strong relationships and trust. So, like I said, he treated his players first as humans, and footballers second. Meaning that he invested in their personal lives. You understand? And they earned their trust. So it's important that leaders build genuine relationships with employees and with teammates. And I'll use an example, and I think this example for me is just so long. And I think I've shared it in an episode we did in 2022. Indira Nooyi, the CEO of PepsiCo, who, when she was CEO, she wrote letters to the parents of her team members. Personal letters, thanking the parents for their children who worked for PepsiCo. One of the parents, this was just amazing. One of the parents, he stayed in a block of flats. When he got the letter, you know what he did? He made copies of the letters and gave to everybody in the block of apartments. He was just so happy and excited. You understand? So that's an example of a CEO building a personal relationship that, and throughout her tenure with PepsiCo, the company did very well, and employee engagement was just off the roof. So that's
those parents will be on their kids' neck.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So that's one. Second thing I would advise is adapting. Leaders should adapt their leadership styles to the strengths of their teams. You understand? And, at times people see this as a weakness, but there are certain times where this is important. And I'll use an example that would throw more light on this. But for Ancelotti, this was important for him because in all of the clubs he managed had very good players, stars like Cristiano Ronaldo, Ramos, big stars that you had to manage them to get the best out of them rather than trying to force your own will on them, or you understand? So it was, how best do you manage them? So it meant he had to adapt. Now, adapting does not mean you tolerate discipline or lawlessness. It just means that you work with them in such a way that you get the best out of them, rather than forcing your own ways on them. So I'll use this example. Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, took over after Steve Jobs died. I mean, Steve Jobs was a very good CEO. He had his ways. You understand? Steve Jobs had his ways. Now, Apple had competent and highly respected leaders. When Tim Cook took over, he could not lead the way Steve Jobs led. He couldn't. So he adapted his leadership style to be collaborative, to get the best out of those people, because he couldn't enforce his ways on them, because these people were competent and they were good. You understand? And that's why it seemed as if Apple even did better after he came on, because you had Apple who had very competent leaders. All you did was working with them in such a way so that you could get the best out of them. Exactly. Yeah. Rather than trying to force on them, his own views and that. And that's why Apple had just continued to go from strength to strength even after the death of Steve Jobs. And three, this is very difficult. And I have a personal example to talk about this. Staying calm under pressure and leading with emotional intelligence is very difficult. Especially when things do not go well. Yeah. A lot of managers and team leads just they go off the hook. They lose it. You understand? And Carlo Ancelotti, I mean, whether things are going on well, he remains calm. Even when he's angry, you will not see it openly. He can do that behind closed doors, but he gives the impression of things are okay. When things do not go well, he doesn't go into, it's not hysterical, it's not shouting. You understand that? Yeah. Typical, and when that happens, rather your team members, you put them, you make them feel a certain way, you understand? Yeah. And so managers who can manage difficulties without outbursts, shouting, and that, they command a certain level of respect. And I'll use an example. And this is very personal. In 2017, I remember because I was traveling for a course. I erroneously sent out a list of employees who were identified as top employees. Okay. As at this time, my company was going through an M&A, a merger and acquisition. Okay. So the company that wanted to take over my company wanted to know the key players that they would try and retain by all means. So we had the list, and I sent it out to the entire company erroneously. Wow! You can't even imagine the and this happened on a Friday, I think, and I traveled out of Nigeria on a Saturday because of my course. The day it happened, my CEO wasn't around, so I couldn't even explain. So I think it was on a Sunday or Monday, I'm not sure. He called me and, Azeez, what happened? I told him. He didn't even say anything. No anger, nothing. When I came back, I heard that he had a town hall meeting and said, okay, so if your name was not on that list, come and prove to me that you deserve to be on that list. That's how he handled that situation.
Manage the situation well.
No anger. Think of how that made me feel. Think of the respect. Yeah. You understand that?
Yes.
So
because you could have been panicking.
Exactly. You could have.
Oh my God, what have I done?
So at that point in time, he could have said, put your neck down, let me cut. You understand?
Yes.
Just because of how he dealt with that situation. So that's what we are saying. Ability to manage situations such that you are not hysterical, you are not shouting, you are not calling names is very important. In summary, trust people, treat them well, adapt to their strengths, and lead with emotional intelligence.
I think personally, I've learned so much from this episode because, in the workplace, so much happens. And I'm seeing how truly Ancelotti is a genius.
He is a genius.
To have these qualities and be able to, especially when you're working with top players.
Superstars.
Yes. they know they're competent. What do you have to offer? So there has to be a way to reach them, to be able to
Manage
get
them,
the best out of them.
Yeah.
And I think the phrase you mentioned that stuck to me is success comes from the
intellectual
intelligence and emotional
intelligence.
intelligence.
Yeah.
So not just being intellectually intelligent and not being emotionally intelligent. So the combination of both is what makes for success. And I'm sure that apart from me, every other manager or CEO or business owner has learned this. Do you want to, maybe in 2 statements, what do you think you want everyone to take out of this episode?
Not just this, was general. I think we are too fixated on surface things. You understand? Which is why we believe social signaling. We are carried away by what we see, by appearance. We are not intrigued by what's underneath this, what's behind this. You understand? And that's why we believe people who we shouldn't believe. And that's why people who we should believe, we refuse to believe them. Because we are just focusing on the surface. The more we are able to get deeper at what's happening behind the scene, the better we become, and I think the more we are able to add value.
And at the end of the day, what you want is productivity, not really just an appearance. Amazing. I hope you have learned so much from this episode, as much as I have learned. And thank you so much again, Azeez, for always doing the research, the deep thinking, and bringing to us these information. And as always, this podcast is edited and the sound is produced by Joshua Praise. The soundtrack is an original by Justo Christos, and the poster is designed by Joseph Okafor and Faithful Larry. Until the next episode, have a very beautiful week. Bye.